Hey, what's up guys? It's Kat. I am coming to you today with a brand new book just released this month in May 2019. So whenever you're watching the video, you will know it was May 2019. And it's a new author to me, and it's actually her debut novel, so that's super exciting. The book is called Fever Pitch by Dawn Edwards. It's going to be a series, so we are awaiting the second book in the series. This first book, Fever Pitch, ends in a cliffhanger. Had me on the edge of my seat. And the book actually starts out with a very intense situation, so you know that that's where the book is going by the end. And then it's the cliffhanger, and it's like, wait, no, don't stop now. Keep going. I want more. So I really like this book. Dawn and I are actually in a common reader group on Facebook. And so it was super nice of her to reach out to me originally to become friends, and then to be able to read this book was really exciting for me. I love being able to find authors and read their books, and I think that's something that social media does really well, is connecting people with common interests, obviously, and then, to take it one step further and have it be someone like me who's an avid reader and loves reading and, reads every single night, to be able to connect, with authors in a way that is really personal. And especially when it's a new author and they're trying to, get their book out there, that's my favorite. The whole basis of my channel is to help support authors, and especially indie authors. So this was really exciting for me. So let's talk about Fever Pitch. It was actually just released this month in May 2019. Like I said, it's Dawn's first book. Really impressed. I am not someone who can write, so that's why I'm a reader. I loved the way she wrote. She has just the right amount of emotion and intrigue, and she's got characters that you love and characters that you don't like at all. And it's not because the character that I didn't like, he's not a likable character. Nobody can find anything redeeming in him. So that was pretty funny that we kind of identify each of her characters. And there's three main characters, so let's get in and talk about it a little bit more in depth. The book is about Jessa and her life, Jessica Cahill, and she's in her middle 20s. She's about to graduate college. She's a privileged girl. She has grown up in the Boston area, and her father owns a very, well-known company, and she's grown up in privilege, and she knows that. And she is in society and kind of has that responsibility of events and charities and stuff like that, and knows that that's where her life is going, and that's what her life will be about. And she knows that her father has worked very hard to get to where he is. Her parents have a loving relationship, and she admires that about them and wants that for herself. So then there's Matt, her fiance, who's the character nobody likes. He's her fiance. He is just a real jerk, and kind of typical in that she worried that any relationship she had, they would be in it for the money. Her family's well known, so she has a trust fund, and she worries about that with friends and suitors. And she met Matt and met him someplace, removed from Boston. They met in Florida, I think, and they seemed to hit it off, and then he seemed to be interested in her, and he knew nothing about her except that she was on vacation in Florida. He didn't know she had money. So that was something that originally attracted her to him and helped their relationship grow. She says in the book, doesn't really have a family, and is really funny about talking about his past. So right there, that's a red flag. And he's just a real jerk. He manipulates her, he's mean to her, he's demeaning to her, and she is a girl that, already worries that, people aren't going to like her for her, and then she has her own insecurities. She feels like she's a little overweight. She feels like she's not that pretty compared to her friends and her cousin. and she's just doesn't have the best self-esteem. And he preys on that. And in the beginning, that's how he gets her by being attracted to her and seemingly wanting to be in a relationship with her, and then that quickly changed. And once he had her, he becomes manipulative, and it's not good, and he's a real jerk. So then the other character who you will love, who I absolutely fell in love with, he's amazing, is Drew. And he is a young man. He's from England. He's in America working on a visa. He went to school in England, had a kind of a terrible life in England. And he's moved to America to make it for himself. And he's trying to separate himself from his dysfunctional family and move to America basically with nothing, and wants to be successful and work in a field that he's passionate about, that he got his degree in. And he ends up being able to meet her father and propose. Drew is a landscape architect, and proposing for his business headquarters a new overall kind of rehab and landscape plan for that. And her dad's name is Steve, I think. They hit it off. And because her dad worked his way up, he sees something in Drew, and they hit it off, and he hires him to come and do a whole bunch of work, not only at their company headquarters, but their home in Boston, and then their home in Cape Cod, and then another home. And so that's the background there. He's working for her family. And you like him right away. He's really a good guy. And she meets him pretty quick because it's actually the day that he's pitching the proposal to her dad, and she walks in. He has no idea that she is her dad's daughter. But they meet, and they kind of check each other out a little bit, and he likes her right away. And then lo and behold, he gets the job, and I think it's like a week later, all of a sudden they're like, oh, you're him. And she's like, oh, you're you. Or was that right? Anyway, they meet, and they like each other right away. She's in this relationship though, and she doesn't want to be, but she doesn't know how to get out of it. And they're engaged, and the wedding is coming soon. And Matt wanted a quick wedding, not a long engagement. So she's in the planning stages with her mom, and so all of a sudden she's already feeling like she doesn't want to marry him, but she feels like the embarrassment of calling off the engagement is too embarrassing. And then she meets Drew, and she can tell he kind of likes her, and she likes him, but yet her insecurities are coming up, and she's like, well, he's really hot. He wouldn't be interested in me, and why would he like me? There's so many other pretty girls out there. That's a theme that runs throughout the whole book, and I really felt like Dawn wrote this character that's in Jessa that really spoke to me, that I understood her insecurities, and I felt her when she was talking, and her thoughts in her head. And it's like, you just want to say to her, girl, you're worth it. Don't let anyone hold you back. Who cares if you have a couple extra pounds, or who cares if, whatever. She's smart. She's articulate. She has everything going for her. And she kind of knows it, but she kind of needs somebody else that believes in her, that's not, her family. So, and Matt is not that guy. Matt wants to keep her down. You know pretty quick that there's something else going on with him. And he's not just an ass. Because of the way Dawn writes him, that there's a plot that he's got, but we don't know what it is yet. Another character in the book that is a main character is Breton, I think is his name, Breton, and then she calls him Brett for short on occasion. So I'm going to call him Brett because I don't want to screw up if that's not how you pronounce his full name. Brett is about her age, maybe a little no, I think he's about her age, maybe a little bit younger by a year or something. And she's very close to him. He actually is one of the main characters, and he's very much part of her story as the story unfolds between her and Matt and Drew. He is a major player. He becomes very good friends with Drew. It was funny because he's in school as well, but one of his talents is being a hacker, which is very pivotal. But they're at the dinner table, and Drew has actually been asked to family dinner, and I love this line that Dawn wrote. She said, Jessa says that her dad voluntold Brett that he was going to be working with Drew at the house on the landscaping. So I like that. I thought that was really funny. I'd never heard voluntold before, but it's so perfect. So he becomes very good friends with Drew in working with him, and then he becomes a pivotal way to help Jessa when we realize what the kind of sinister plot is that Matt has under his, up his sleeve, I guess is the right word. So as Jessa and Drew are getting to know each other and kind of falling for each other, there's a lot of emotional turmoil on both of their sides. I wouldn't say angst, because they have these exterior factors in that she's engaged and he works for her dad. And it's very much part of their story because they both struggle with that equally. She wants to get out of this relationship. Matt is holding something over her head. She doesn't know what to do about that. She doesn't know how to get out of it. She finds something in Matt's apartment that makes her question everything, in addition to what he's already holding over her head, makes her question everything about their relationship, and knows that it's even more sinister than she thought. So that's when she enlists Brett to help her in figuring out what it is, so that they have something that she can go to Matt and break up with him and say, and I know this, so you need to leave me alone. Almost like reverse. She wants to be able to hold something over his head so that when she goes to make a break with him, because she's tried to make a break from him before, and he always brings this thing up that he has on her, and so she feels like she can't leave him. So she wants to be able to have something on him so that when she goes to break up with him, she can hold that over his head. So Brett, because he's a hacker, goes to work. But an arcing theme to Drew and Jessa is this, Drew is really into her. And, at one point he says that he'd been building a pedestal for her to sit on. And I loved that wording, because he wasn't saying that I put her on a pedestal. He's saying, I've built her a pedestal to sit on. And I loved that. And I don't know if I just got super overly thought about it, but it went to the fact that he makes beautiful things, and he considers her a beautiful thing. He, is a landscape architect, and he's rehabbing the exterior of the house. He's not just that. He's, he knows about all kinds of architecture, and so he makes beautiful things, and he thinks she's so beautiful, and he doesn't know why she doesn't see it, but he's willing to put in the work because he's falling in love with her, and he wants her to see herself as she sees him. So when he says, I've built her a pedestal to sit on, it just meshed with his character so perfectly. And then on the other side of that, he's talking about Matt and their relationship, Jessa and Matt's relationship. And I want to read what he said, because it was very thought-provoking and very sad. So he says about Matt, he extinguished her spark, silenced her voice, and guarded her movements. This is when I knew that he really saw her, and he just, my heart just squeezed in the best way, even though it's really sad what he's saying about Jessa. the fact that he sees that with her, it just showed me how invested in her he was, regardless of what their situation was. And I fell for him so hard. I did fall for him. I'm continuing to fall for him because guess what? There's another book. So that's exciting. So chapters 17 and 18 were really hard for me. And I wanted to like scream at my Kindle and throw it because I thought it was all going to go to crap in these chapters. And something else about these chapters, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but they're dual. Each one is from a different, how am I trying to say this? One chapter will be from Drew, one chapter will be from Jessa. I've said before, I love when authors do that because I feel like we get so much more of each character when it's just told from one perspective. So I really liked that part. So 17 and 18 are Jessa's perspective. I think they're both, right? Anyway, regardless, 17 and 18 were really hard for me. I have taken up, and you've seen me do it before, I highlight certain chapters and certain sentences that I like, and sometimes I like so much of the book that I don't highlight any of it because I like it all. But 17 and 18, there were sentences and it just... So the situation is they're all gonna, it's the weekend and they're all gonna go out together. It's Brett, it's Jessa, it's Drew, it's Matt, it's Brett is actually Jessa's cousin. I don't know if I mentioned that. And then they have another cousin, Abby, and that's their cousin. Yeah, that's their cousin. She's got two good girlfriends, Abby, and I can't remember the other one's name right now, but Abby's also her cousin, I believe. Or anyway, so they're all going to go out. It's Friday night or Thursday night or whatever, or Saturday night, whatever. They're all going to go out and party together and go to a bar. And through Jessa finding this stuff that scared her and that will completely change her relationship that she has with Matt, that she's going to try to hold over him, that Brett is trying to figure out for her, she has distanced herself from him enough that she thinks he has a side piece, and she's kind of at their summer house because it's over the summer during this time, and he's in the city at work staying there. So she really doesn't have to see him during the week until Thursday or Friday when he's supposed to come. Thursday is family dinner. So she has successfully kind of separated himself, and he hasn't really questioned it. He's kind of that arrogant that he's like, whatever. But yet he still wants to marry her, so there's something else going on. In any case, so they're all going to go out, and she's looking forward to being able to spend time with Drew out, but she's not looking forward to having Matt there with her, and they've been very careful that nobody knows what's going on between them, meaning Jessa and Drew. And so you can imagine it's a little tense, and she's like, I need a glass of wine, I need some drinks. And Matt doesn't really get along with her family or her friends. He tried to, one of his manipulations was to try to keep her separate from them and pull her away from them. Her family and friends kind of put up with him because they want the best for her. So it's already going to be tense because nobody really gets along with Matt. And so they go out, and Drew and Abby start flirting. And, I just didn't want it to happen. And she's like, I don't know if he's trying to get back to me. Abby is a really great girl. She's super career driven. She's really pretty. She's got amazing legs. She would be great for him, but I don't want them together. I don't want her to be happy with Drew. But yet she's so torn because she can't break up with Matt, and she wants the best for Drew as well. Oh, my heart just hurt. And then at one point, at the end of one of the chapters, she says, what does she say? She says, I have to look it up. Hold on. Jessa says, I watch the man I want to be with more than anything walk away with my beautiful cousin. So everyone decides to leave the bar, and Matt's being himself and he wants to go home. And Brett has left with a friend of his, and then so it's just Abby and Drew, and they walk off together. Oh, my stomach was just, I was so mad. I was like, Drew, don't do it. Don't do it. Please don't do this. Don't do this to her. Don't do this to me. I was, oh God. But rest assured, our man Drew came through, because then you turn the page and he's such a good guy. Then Jessa says that 30 minutes later, she hears Abby come into the house and go upstairs and go to bed. So she knew that they didn't spend any more time together. Oh, thank goodness. So like I said, Fever Pitch ends in a cliffhanger. And the second book is coming shortly, and I am super excited. I hate cliffhangers, but in the best way, right? So I'm excited for the second book and be able to read the second book. I would absolutely 100% highly recommend this book. It is really good. It's got just the right amount of love and turmoil and so much emotion, and good, strong alpha male, good, strong bad guy, wonderful heroine. I really like Jessa. I was like, yep, I could be friends with that girl. I know we're talking about a character in a book, but that's how much I liked her. And you just want so much for her, and you're rooting for her, and you understand her insecurities, and yet here comes Drew, and he's a good guy. And yes, there are good guys out there, and she deserves one. And it was funny, she talks about her weight a little bit, and what she thinks is her deficit, which is her, couple extra pounds that she carries, he sees as luscious and awesome. And he says to her, he's like, yeah, but your ass though. And like, you can just tell he loves that she has a couple extra pounds on her, and that she's not some, skinny girl without any curves. And Drew likes that she has more cushion for the pushing. He sees that as part of her beauty. And I really, really liked that about him, and it made me like him even more, because the parts, like I said, the parts that she thought she didn't like about herself, he doesn't even see those. He sees her as beautiful, smart, intelligent. So this book has all the feels. It has all the good stuff in that you want. It's a great story, great characters. So bravo, Dawn. Well done. And thank you so much for letting me read it. Let me know if you've read it in the comments below. Let me know if you've got anything good on your TBR that you're waiting to read, that you're dying to read. I really appreciate you tuning in, and I hope you have a wonderful day. See you soon. Bye.